Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another daily movie review. Today, we're going to be talking about a film from 2009. We're going to be talking about Merantau. Merantau, okay? So we're going to be talking about. This film is directed by Gareth Evans, also written by Gareth Evans. It stars Iko Uwais, Siska Jessica, Christine Huckham, and others. The log line is a young man from the countryside uses his skills in Silat martial arts to survive the slave trade. So, if you don't know who Gareth Evans is and you don't know who Iko Uwais is, I'm probably saying his name wrong, so I apologize. I'm probably saying the title of this movie wrong. Merantau? Merantau? That's what it looks like to me. Um, he's the guy behind the Raid films, Raid Redemption and Raid 2. Often cited as some of the most impressive kind of choreography and martial arts work done in movies today. Everybody loves those movies. You see those movies, you're into action movies, you're going to really enjoy The Raid. I don't think they have the greatest stories or anything like that. Maybe not the most interesting characters, but the fight choreography is bar none. I mean, I've never seen anybody really top that stuff as far as movie style fighting. And what this is feels like a training grounds for that. Feels like ground zero for that kind of format. Because they really take the ball and run with it after this movie. This movie feels very small in comparison to The Raid, which was what they made right after this one, with the same actors, like I said, same stunt team. And it was interesting because this one actually has, I would say, probably the better drama. Gareth Evans is always trying to inject drama into these movies and try to make compelling kind of through lines, but everything is so kind of, I don't know, cliche ridden that it's hard to get past that, I would say. And it's definitely not the draw of those movies. But this one was much more of a character piece than I expected it to be. Because while it does have some really crazy, fun fights, they are kind of few and far between. I think there's three big ones. At least in this cut in the movie, there's three different cuts. I saw the middle cut, the one that's the middle length cut, the Blu-ray cut, the 112-minute cut. So maybe there's some on the cutting room floor or something, or in a director's cut. But I was surprised at how much character stuff there was, because it has kind of a harrowing story at its center. It's about these Europeans coming to Indonesia and engaging in sex trafficking and the sex slave trade, and a girl getting kind of caught up in that, and this guy who's kind of this monk martial arts dude from the small village. They have this thing called Merantau where they have to go, and it's like their Rumspringer, I guess. They have to go and make something of themselves out in the world before they can come back and kind of take their place, I think, is one of maybe the community members. And he kind of just gets mixed up with this plight of this girl. She's a homeless girl, her and her little brother, I think. And these guys are trying to capture her. She's been a dancer for a while, but now they want her to be a prostitute. And she's not down for that. She's not into it. Not into it at all. And and then the movie kind of goes where he's just kind of a series of escalations, just like kind of these things do, just like these kind of standard action movie stuff for the most part. But I think it's just executed better than most. And I do think the fact of where it's filmed, that it takes place in kind of a different culture, but also that it's being kind of oppressed or attacked by a European culture, it makes it more of an interesting dynamic, because you have a poor country versus rich elite people from a rich, more wealthy, prosperous country, and they come and try to basically literally rape the land and resources. And that is kind of the backdrop of the movie. So it just makes it different. It makes it unique. Because while some of it does feel this is something you would have seen in a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie in the 90s, the plot doesn't really feel that much different, but it just has that extra unique flavor. And I think also the lead actor, Iko Uwais, he's a really earnest performer. I think he does kind of bring something to these characters where there is this kind of innate sense of naivete to him and a sense of goodness to him that comes out. And then he's kind of forced to engage in these intense, extreme circumstances. And that's kind of all of the movies, the Raid movies after this, obviously. Kind of the same type of character, where he feels like the reluctant badass. It's not that he has a problem being a hero. I think it's just that he has a problem being such a badass. It's interesting, the way they choreograph these things. These are movie fights. And they are so impressive. And that's not to denigrate. That's not to say that like, oh, I could do better or whatever. No, it's an intense kind of ballet that these guys do. But I was watching not too long ago somebody who's like a stunt people that work in this field, kind of breaking down, especially the raid movies, and where they pointed out to me was how theatrical the fighting is. Like in a real fight, you would not do a lot of the things these guys do because you'd be like expelling energy. Because whenever they have to like they break away from somebody, they always do a bunch of business. They're always like not hitting anybody. It's just there to fill the space between the next action. And that's to give you something visually interesting. So that's what's cool about this stunt team. It's like they know how to visually communicate the intention of action, the intention of a fight scene through the physicality of it. Because a lot of times, like, especially in the modern context, we watch like kind of the more modern James Bond movies, or you watch the Bourne Identity movies, for examples. I mean, the fights in those things are never really great. They're kind of underwhelming, and they have to shoot them. They shoot them in close up. They try to bring you into it, like really make it visceral, but it doesn't read on screen very well. So they always just kind of feel muddled, because in real life, fights are not that exciting. Like street fights, they're just not that exciting. They're not that interesting. So they have to kind of do something to elevate the action. Actually, it's a good example of a modern movie that has a lot of like movie business during fights is Mission Impossible Fallout. There's an awesome, incredible sequence, set piece in a bathroom where Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise fight this dude in a bathroom, and it's awesome. But there's tons of stuff that you would just never do because it would just be, you open yourself up for attack. It would be a waste of energy. You'd be really, really exhausted by doing all this extra business, which I'm sure they were, because they had to do it over and over again when they made the movie. But there's a lot of stuff like that, a lot of movie moments where somebody gets ready to fight, walks in, and that's all to kind of emotionally invest you in a more visceral level of the action. And a lot of that stuff, at least the modern way to do it, actually comes from this stunt team, and this feels like just the beginning of that. So it's cool from that, like almost like as a historical document for these kind of action movies, to see the genesis of that kind of stuff. So I'm really happy I actually got around to watching it. I had never seen it before, and it's got some awesome stuff. It does feel mildly underwhelming because I've seen all the other movies they did. But like I said, it is really cool to go back and see where they started, because it has much more modest goals. Obviously has a much smaller budget than even like the first Raid did. It's like a movie that sometimes you feel like, oh, are they filming in like a VFW hall? Like that would be like the American equivalent, and that they kind of like partitioned off to make a set. That's what it looks like sometimes. But I don't know. I was really glad I got around to seeing it. It was something I meant to watch a long time ago, and it just kind of fell off my radar. And then I was at the old Big Lots the other day. $3, $3 You want to get Shaun to buy a movie? Have it be $2 or $3, and I'll probably do it. But it's cool now. Now I think I have everything Gareth Evans has done except that Netflix movie, and whatever else he's done after that. Which I did not love that next Netflix movie. Was it Apostle? Dan Stevens. It's like a horror thriller, Lovecraftian, creepy movie. Didn't really work for me. But anyways, Merantau is definitely worth checking out if you are into this genre. It harkens back to kind of an older, simpler time of action movie. Like I said, I invoked JCVD, Jean-Claude Van Damme films. It kind of reminded me a lot of something like that, like something he would have made at some point in his career. And I think it's elevated by the choreography, the stunt work, and also the location. I think it just made it more visually interesting. It was kind of more dynamic in that way, or at least for somebody that's unfamiliar with that kind of area or terrain. You know what I mean? All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, check out the links in the description. There's Facebook, Instagram, my personal Twitter, Dan's Twitter. Also, if you'd like to make a recommendation for one of these daily videos, throw it in the comments section. We'll put it on the list. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.